The men laughed when she stepped onto the field. Sunlight gleamed off the rows of medals pinned to their chests, each one a story of pain, endurance, and pride. But she didn't have any. Just a plain gray hoodie, her hair tied back, her expression calm, almost serene. The SEAL commander squinted at her, half amused. "Ma'am," he said, "this isn't a sightseeing event. Mind if I try?" she asked quietly. For a second, no one answered. Then the laughter started again, low at first, then loud enough to echo off the concrete walls of the training base. No one expected her to last 5 minutes. No one except the old sergeant watching from the shadows, arms folded, eyes thoughtful. Before I tell you what happened next, tell me in the comments where you re-watching from. I love knowing who's listening. The obstacle course stretched before her. Ropes, walls, and mud trenches carved by years of sweat and storms. The course that had broken men twice her size. The course whose record, 4 minutes, 26 seconds, had stood untouched for a decade. She took her place at the start line, the whistle resting between the commander's lips. The men whispered behind her, trading bets and jokes. She heard every word, but her heartbeat drowned out the rest. It wasn't anger that burned inside her. It was something else. Something quieter. Something older. When the whistle blew, she moved. The first rope rose like a tower, slick with rain and oil. She gripped it without hesitation, legs locking, arms steady. Every pull was clean, measured, almost mechanical. She wasn't fast, not yet, but she was efficient. And in military tests, efficiency was the difference between exhaustion and endurance. By the halfway mark, the laughter had stopped. The murmurs turned to silence. Then came the sound of her landing. Boots slamming into wet dirt, breath steady, no stumble. The commander frowned. "Who is she?" he whispered to the sergeant beside him. The old man's voice was low, almost nostalgic. "Name's Captain Elena Ford, retired Air Force pararescue. Lost her husband in a mission 7 years ago. He died. On this base." The commander blinked, realization dawning. She wasn't here to compete. She was here to remember. Each obstacle was a memory. The rope climb. The night her husband's helicopter went down in a storm. The crawling trench. The months of fighting grief alone. The cold wall at the end. The barrier she'd built around herself, brick by brick to keep the pain out. Her body trembled as she reached the wall. Rain poured harder, turning the mud into a battlefield. She slipped once, knees crashing into the ground. Gasps rippled through the crowd. For a heartbeat, she didn't move. Then, with trembling fingers, she reached up again. Her muscles screamed, but her eyes didn't waver, and when she vaulted the final wall, time seemed to stop. The clock read 4 minutes, 18 seconds. 8 seconds faster than the record. No one cheered at first. They just stared. The kind of stunned silence that only happens when something sacred breaks open. Then, slowly, the applause came. Hesitant, then thunderous. Even the commander clapped, though his face remained unreadable. Elena didn't smile. She just stood there, chest heaving, eyes glistening with rain and tears. She looked up toward the sky, the same gray clouds that had covered her husband's last mission, and whispered something no one could hear. Later, in the mess hall, one of the younger recruits approached her. "Ma'am," he stammered, How did you do it? After everything?" She looked at him, really looked, and smiled for the first time that day. "You don't move on from pain," she said softly. "You carry it until it becomes strength, until it stops being your weakness and starts being your reason." That night, the commander found her standing by the memorial wall. Her husband's name was there, engraved between dozens of others. She traced the letters with her finger, then turned to leave. "Captain Ford," he called out. "You know, that record, it stood for a reason. You didn't just beat it. You reminded every man here what it means to have a reason to fight." She nodded, once, silent. Then she walked away, her footsteps fading into the night, the same way she'd arrived, quietly, purposefully. And long after she was gone, the recruits still talked about her. Not the record she broke, but the truth she left behind, that strength isn't born from glory, but from loss. That sometimes the bravest thing a person can do is to show up again. Because courage isn't the absence of pain, it's what you build from it. Because kindness doesn't vanish, it waits and it finds its way back. Somewhere beyond that base, the wind carried her whisper, a vow to the man she'd loved and to the woman she'd become. "Mind if I try?" she had asked, and when the world said no, she showed them why they should have said yes. If you felt something from Elena's story, hit that subscribe button and share your thoughts in the comments. Your stories, your strength, inspire whispered words to keep telling the ones that matter most.